Hi everyone, thank you for joining me and welcome to my channel. I'm excited to be here with you guys today to talk about the new moon eclipse, that's right, in August, which is August 22nd through the 23rd, depending where you live. So big announcement, today's new moon is an eclipse. I found that this morning and I'm excited to tell you all about that in the astrology section. We are going to do an astrology section for everyone and then do this tarot card reading for the collective and provide you some insight into this energy. Now, secondly, I am going to do an all sign audio dub for the all sign members, the all star members. This is going to be an all sign with the wheel, and I'm going to explain just using audio how this is affecting your sign. A couple days ago, we did a similar video for all sign members. For the Jupiter, Venus, Sirius, and Moon rise before sunrise. But this is such a special event that I decided to do a special presentation and we'll do a deep dive. Well, it's not going to be a deep dive, but we're going to take a look at this energy for every single sign. Okay? I'm excited to tell you guys about this again because we're short on time. I am going to do a still frame wheel chart right now to tell you about the astrology. I will use like audio only dub it for you guys. It's a fast way to get this out to you without having to do a ton of editing. And then once we're finished the astrology, come back or stay tuned and I will explain this tarot card reading for you. Okay, so this is a very special event for the eclipse. We get double eclipses this year, one now and one later in September. And I think that this is something that is unprecedented, special astrology, big things happening. Let's think about what it means. Okay, talk to you soon. Take care. Okay, so here is our astrology chart, and here is the new moon at 0 degrees 23 minutes of Virgo. Here is the south node at 19 degrees and 5 minutes of Virgo, and this is an eclipse. So I'll explain why it's an eclipse in a minute, but this eclipse is super rare. It's actually not identified anywhere online that I was able to find, but technically from an astrological perspective, it is an eclipse. This means that this eclipse and the eclipse in September, which will be in the last degree of Virgo, is super rare. I've never seen anything like this before, a double eclipse in sign. It's an anomaly. I'm sure that it has shown up in the chart somewhere, but it's not. It's an anomaly. It's very, very rare. Thousands of years. If anybody wants to find another iteration of it, by all means, let us know in the comments. I'll be happy to see it. I will explain the math of why this is a double eclipse later, but first let's talk about the eclipse itself and what kind of things that you can expect from it from an astrological perspective. So this is a series of eclipses that are alongside the south node in Virgo, and that's really important when you're looking at eclipses. The south node indicates that there are things that have completed or that you have reached maximum amount of learning about this time, and those things are about to change very quickly. So at the point of the eclipse is this moment in which this transforms and this new path begins. You might notice that things no longer feel right to you, and leading up to this eclipse and the next one, you may be feeling like a lot of old systems and relationships are rigid. They're old, they've played their part, they're no longer interesting to you. It's a good time to let go of old habits, and it's a good time to start a new phase. You may be really ready to start working in a new direction or doing something new or doing what you already do a different way. So in other words, think of it as you are ready to shift and change direction. One thing that you may notice is that old routines are no longer working for you. Let's say you had a routine, that functioned a certain way. You may be finding that with this eclipse and the next one, those ways of doing things no longer make sense. Suddenly it feels burdensome. Under an eclipse in Virgo alongside the South Node, you may find a closure of old roles. And by that, I mean old roles in relation to other people, old positions. Your relationship to other people is fundamentally changing. Maybe nothing changes today, but you already sense that something is not working the way that it used to. You might feel as though certain obligations are feeling tiresome too. If obligations and things that you need to do are not feeling right, it's likely a sign that they're about to change. Also, another thing that may happen, and I already did the tarot card reading, this aligns with the tarot card reading really well. So some of the good ideas that you thought you had certain great ideas about a project, or you really wanted to achieve something, you might actually notice that some of the things that you wanted to do at some given point in time don't no longer matter to you as much. So it's a time of new priorities and new ambitions too. Like, I want to pick up horseback riding. Maybe that was on your mind for a couple years. And now suddenly you're like, I still like horses, but maybe that's not in the cards for me. And with that, something else new comes, front and center in your mind that you are interested in. So pay attention to these shifts and align with whatever direction. This is just a confirmation of what's going on in your mind already. You may notice shifts at work and in the environment at this time. This was a major theme in your tarot card reading that's going to be next, because you have to remember we are all under this energy. All of us have different rising sun signs, and so this is aligning in different positions in our charts. This means that everybody's kind of in a similar vibe. There could be a little bit of tense energy in the air. With Uranus squaring this new moon, there may be some things that are unexpected, and we'll talk about Uranus in just a little bit. Another thing that may be emerging alongside a new moon eclipse in Virgo is that be aware of your stress, awareness of your stress patterns and your just tolerance towards things. Stress can show up as exhaustion, sleepiness, hunger, all sorts of different things. But at this time, you may be noticing, as a reaction to things kind of reaching their end, you might be feeling those signs of stress. It's a good sign that if something's providing unhealthy stress for you, that it's not doing something that's constructive in your life. However, at the same time, awareness of health habits that are good, like suddenly I want to pick up horseback riding, or suddenly I want to start going to the gym. Those kinds of things in your mind are indicators of great paths that you may walk alongside this South Node new moon. There's a new beginning here for you too. And we'll talk about the trajectories at the end of this section. By that, I mean timelines, because this is a very interesting timeline. I noticed a few people mentioning burnout, and fortunately, I'm not experiencing burnout right now, but I have in the recent past a lot. And the one thing I know about burnout is burnout happens when our reality or our expectations are misaligned to our environment. It's when a boss doesn't see our effort. It's when we put a lot of work into something and it doesn't get organized, recognized. It's when other people are harsh or critical or not nice to you, and it's working against the efforts that you're putting into a situation. So burnout has a lot to do with your just action, your positive, good faith behaviors coming into conflict with an increasingly bad faith environment. Now, that's not so simple as that, but try to think of it as, what is working against what I actually want to do? And do I have to expose myself to that behavior or that situation? I know that's easier to say than do, but that's a really great strategy to sidestep being burnt out. Furthermore, pay attention to your mind and nervous system. Also, with Virgo, of course, we're talking about digestion. Digestion also shows signs of stress. So if you're experiencing symptoms, and this is not medical advice, but if you're experiencing symptoms of stress, take care of yourself. One defining feature of Virgo is worry. So if you have noticed that, and I'm a Virgo myself, so if you have noticed that suddenly in your life there is more worry than everything else, that's often a sign, whether you're a Virgo or not, that that situation is not working for you in the way that you need it to be. Another thing that you can think about if you find yourself worrying a lot is, are you believing in something that's not real? Are you setting unfair expectations for yourself or putting unfair pressure on yourself? So in other words, with this new moon, you're kind of waking up with clarity and saying, is it time to let go of a myth I'm telling myself about a situation? Pushing myself too much, trying to be a perfectionist, those kinds of things. Okay, so now let's focus on 0 degrees Virgo. So we talked about Virgo alongside the South Node. Now let's talk about the 0 degree Virgo placement. So like I said in the intro, this is a part of a 2-part eclipse situation. The second eclipse happens in September 2025 at 29 degrees. So this is the first degree, it's the anaretic degree, and the 29th degree is the anaretic degree. These are the key degrees of a sign. Now there is some continuity between this eclipse and the next eclipse. However, this eclipse is actually standalone in a different sequence than the other one. I will explain this when we get to the timelines, and I'll explain everything in a minute. At 0 degrees, you are initiating something. A new pattern is initiating, and in this case, the pattern is going to last a long time. So pay attention to your environment. In the tarot card reading, I was really interested to see how it was very much showing the end of one thing and the beginning of something else. When we're moving from Leo to Virgo, we have a lot of ideas already in our minds, but it's Virgo that refines them to make it great. So when you're taking the symbolism of Leo, which is aspirational, imaginary, and then you apply it to Virgo, the question is, how am I going to make it? It's the 8 of Pentacles in the tarot cards, Sun in Virgo. So to make something great, you have to do more than just think about it. You have to apply yourself in to achieve the thing that you want. Virgo is the best for this. It's the effort. It's the effort that you're meant to put in to achieve that goal that you want. Hopefully some of you are feeling an increased amount of energy already, but over the next 28 days, I think that practical energy, that simple getting it done sort of motivation, hopefully will show up for you. One of the things that you can think about alongside the South Node Virgo eclipse, new moon, is that are there like micromanaging, too detail-oriented, hyper-vigilant, pedantic obsessions about details in whatever you do, your craft, your work, or your art, that keep you from achieving bigger goals? So are you stuck on the little details and not allowing yourself to thrive in the bigger picture? The other nice thing about switch between Leo to Virgo is that things get quieter. So if your chart reflects in such a way that the Leo season is just a lot to take on, it can be for people. When Virgo season starts, things get quieter. It's the last season before autumn. I actually opened my window today, and it was like early afternoon, and I could feel the autumn air. I was like, it's really early for autumn, but I could definitely feel it. I remember a scene from Sex and the City where Carrie Bradshaw said something of the same. She said, we have to close the windows because it's the beginning of autumn. It's just stuck with me. And usually this happens in September, but for whatever reason, I feel that energy now, which is great for mushroom season. Another thing that you can bring attention to, and if it's coming up for you, is that health becomes very important. So if health-related issues are coming up, pay attention to them and honor them. Okay, so let's talk about rulership. So it's something interesting is going on here in terms of rulership. Every single planet rules a sign. And so in terms of the decans, we're talking about the first decan of Virgo. In traditional astrology, this is ruled by the sun. So we have the position of the sun in its home decan. But in modern astrology, Mercury rules this position, and Mercury is here in Leo. This would not be the most comfortable dynamic. However, there's something else going on that's really exciting. So the sun in Virgo is actually in Mercury's sign. So Mercury rules Virgo, and Mercury is in Leo, which is sun sign. So what's happening here is a mutual reception. So the sun and Mercury are in each other's sign, and this really empowers this new moon to be something special. This means that the energy is interacting. Mercury understands Virgo, the sun understands Leo, and so this energy is supporting itself or supporting each other. This creates an environment in which it's a perfect time to create. I don't know about you, but already, it's not even Virgo season. I'm already feeling much more grounded and practical. So Sun in Virgo is the practical side of how to make things happen, right? Mercury in Leo is the bold expression that we are transforming with the Sun in Virgo into practical action. Mercury in Leo sees potential. It creates drama. There's broad communication. The combination of the energy here is really great for presenting things, for talking to others, writing things, just putting your ideas together. It's a very creative combination. Another thing that can happen is boring ideas can become fun and inventive. With Mercury and Leo, you might have the opportunity to rethink something to do it better in a more exciting way. Conversely, wild ideas become more practical. So if you have an idea that just is way out there, you might have the opportunity to kind of ground it down. So let's talk about the North Node and how it relates to this new moon eclipse. Last year, people started debating about whether the true node or the mean node was a better manner in which to use with the chart. And I was sort of aware that a problem like this could arise by using the mean node. And basically what happens is when you switch between the true and the mean node, the true node comes into proximity of the eclipse line. Eclipses happen within 18 degrees of the new moon. So if a new moon happens within 18 degrees of a node, it's 18 degrees and some minutes, then it's considered an eclipse. And so when we switch between the true and the mean node is maybe a degree closer to the new moon than the mean node was. The true node is 1 degree closer to the new moon than the mean node was. I anticipated a problem like this, and I tried to find an example, but I didn't find it until this morning. I was very excited to find this. So overall, the mean node is the average position of the North Node across the entire chart. So they take the whole orbit and then they divide it into equal amounts, just like whole sign houses, just the average, right? And the true node is calculated from the mean node to estimate the actual position of where that intersection is. Realistically, there is a difference of about a degree and a half at any given time. So this is an eclipse. However, when it's close like this, just under 18 degrees distance from the south node, the shadow of the eclipse itself only grazes one of the poles when this happens. So it's either south or north pole of the Earth gets grazed by the shadow of the eclipse. In this case, because the declination of the sun and moon is positive, it's the north node that had this shadow of the moon graze it. In some instances, the shadow of the moon doesn't even touch the Earth. It just sort of hovers above us or passes past us. And so from what I understand, astronomers, when this is the case in these extreme latitudes, south or north, when this happens, they don't consider that an eclipse. But for our purpose, astrologically, it is an eclipse because it is within 18 degrees of the mean node. I personally use the true node in astrology. I kind of saw this become a problem like this. It's not a real problem because I just want to say that regardless of whether the south node is at 18 degrees or at 19 degrees, that moon is crossing the ecliptic very close. There's very little difference. It's just a technical difference. But technically, from an astrological perspective, it is an eclipse. Okay, so astrologically also, the sun is creating a square to Uranus. That's one of the major features of this eclipse. And from our perspective, the way that we're talking about the eclipse today is that there is conflicting beginnings of two different energies. If we think of the first degree of a sign as the beginning, the anaretic degree, there are two beginnings happening right now. Well, more than two, because Saturn and Pluto and Neptune, there's a whole bunch of new things beginning. But specifically for this eclipse, for our purpose here with the new moon, Uranus at 1 degree Gemini represents one new beginning, and this new moon eclipse represents another new beginning. So the new moon eclipse, what I would like to suggest that you think of it as is more personal to you. It represents a new way of organizing yourself and your time and finding something new that works better for you. Overall, I think that you will recognize what that is quicker than the other beginnings that we're going to talk about today. Uranus and Gemini, I will do a separate video about this, but for our purpose to understand the eclipse, is disrupting conventions, okay? It's disrupting things that are already in place, but more on the relational, social level between you and other people and in the world around us. I would argue that this is harder to recognize as to what that is because we don't know everything that's going on in the world. So, for example, we can all sense that Uranus and Gemini is changing things. We see AI, we see technology, we see hacking, all of those different things in the world. Not everything pertains to us directly, but it's changing the way that we relate to the world. And that world change, Uranus and Gemini, is interacting with the way that we experience it, and that's coming into conflict with the new moon eclipse in Virgo. So I would say that these energies at a square are a push-pull. You sense that something's changing. You need something new for yourself, the new moon eclipse. You've come to realize that a more efficient way of living your life is available. And then you sort of feel that the world is changing around you. New systems, new expectations, people are relating to each other in different ways. New technologies are disrupting the way that we communicate. It's not always apparent at first what that is, so a lot of people are tense. A lot of people are like, where does this leave me? Because things have changed. We don't know what's changed, the unknown unknowns, and we don't know how it relates to us yet. Nobody knows, so don't worry. I heard from another creator on YouTube today. I don't know if I should mention his name or anything, but he mentioned that one of the AIs allegedly published hundreds of thousands of chats to a public link, which means that these public chats became accessible to anyone, became public. That included personal information, medical records, whatever else was in there. This is an example of how Uranus and Gemini can manifest in the personal. We don't know how technology is going to change things and how we have to navigate that. We don't know those boundaries yet. So Uranus and Gemini is disrupting how we are doing things, and we still have to wait and see how it all plays out. We still have to decide how it all plays out as a culture. We have to figure out laws and rules and all of these different things and put them in place to figure out the boundaries of how to interact with things. It's the Wild West out here. For the new moon eclipse, it's the personal one. You want to do things a certain way because that makes sense to you. You're being honest with yourself. Or you have figured something out that really helps you out. You know, when you figure out a schedule, figure out a plan that works for you, it's really annoying when you have to change it. But this is what the new moon eclipse is about. You're figuring out what works for you. So there's this tension because you found a sweet spot, and on the periphery, you know things are changing. That's where the discomfort is. And then you'll see other people reacting to that as well. So you're not an island, right? No person is an island. You'll see other people struggling with the same dilemmas. Not only this, I didn't include this in this chart, but the goddess Sedna, the asteroid is with Uranus this entire time. And we've talked about this before, but Pluto is a trine to Uranus here. There's a really strong relationship between Pluto and Uranus all year, and the goddess Sedna is here. And Sedna is really important to women, and we're already seeing this in social media and public media and stuff, how women are being communicated in public spaces. Things are changing. And I don't mean the laws, I mean technology and stuff. There's a big question mark about how new media represents women and how it embodies the patriarchy. There's a big question mark about how that's going to carry over into these new technologies, right? So we have this all in the back of our heads, or whether you're conscious of it or not, this is what we are relating to. And Pluto, of course, represents power structures, right? So there could, in the background, there's all these shifts specifically into air signs, Aquarius and Gemini. And it's changing how power is organized in relation to these changes. And then we are subjects. We individuals are subjects to it. There's a lot of unknowns, right? Unknown unknowns. We don't even know they exist. And that's kind of what everybody's feeling. Beyond this, the eclipse is a trine to Chiron. Chiron is actually in a square to Venus as well at this time. So Chiron is the wounded healer. It's at the end of Aries at this time. And it can be like a sensitive moment when Chiron and Venus create a square. There's feelings, Venus feelings, and desire about the things you want. You're worried that your past will stop you from getting what you want. These fears, it's a square. It's an opening square. Situations may come up for you that become tainted with your memories. So you're confronting the stuff that you're worried about. To add to this, this is the last iteration of Chiron in Aries. So we only have a few more months before Chiron enters into Taurus. These last few degrees become extra intense. Chiron in Aries has a lot to do with our self-esteem and how we show up in the world, who we feel that we are. And so a square to Venus, you're once again thinking about how you don't get to live life in the way that you would like to live if those barriers that you had experienced were not a part of things. This is not negative thinking. This is awareness of things that you need to push against to grow past. Another thing that can come up with a square to Chiron from Venus is concern that you will not outlive the past. So it could feel like it's haunting you. But hopefully by this point, because we've had so many iterations of Chiron and Venus while Chiron is in Aries, hopefully at this point you have gained some self-confidence about beating your past. We can talk about the Chiron and Venus square a little bit more if you guys want. Just let me know in the comments. So while there's a square between Chiron and Venus, there's a trine to the new moon eclipse. And that's really helping that energy out. So the new moon eclipse is shifting your approach to things, shifting the way you do things, and helping you to navigate around these perceived problems. Or new resources come in, money, just tangible things that can help you figure out how to get past these limitations. So for both the sun and the moon, this is an opening trine. So this is bringing healing energy. With the eclipse, in a situation where you didn't see a solution, you may find a solution. So in other words, Venus may make you feel vulnerable at this time in relation to Chiron because there's things you desire, but you don't feel like you can get it because of XYZ. The new moon eclipse helps to remove some of the pressures XYZ from your life, makes it easier. So I've already mentioned this in the square to Uranus, but overall I want to highlight the minor grand trine sextile. From now until the end of August, Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn in Aries in September in Pisces, and Neptune in Aries and Uranus in Gemini are once again locking into this tight minor grand trine sextile. This is a very important formation as the three planets switch signs and switch element from earth, water, into fire and air. That's the stuff in the background that's making everyone so nervous because it's a shift in times. On a post on Instagram, I mentioned 1972. because that's when a lot of great records were made, especially in the UK. And 1972 really shifted the energy into this fire and air energy. I only know it from movies and music, but it was a really cool time. And the thing that I know about it is when everything was earth and water, that was great. But after a while, people got kind of tired of that. And I think that we're at a similar point, that water and earth is not giving us the benefits it did before. And so now air and fire has to come in to help us grow and expand. And so that's what the minor grand trine sextile is doing, even if it makes us feel uncomfortable. And we'll talk about this more. There's a lot of aspects that are forming very soon and have already formed in the last couple weeks. So we'll talk about this again. You guys have heard about it from me since 2022 or before. I've been mentioning and talking about this for a few years now, but this is the year in which this really activates. So in September, we'll talk about the kite that is going to form as the sun transits into Libra. Very exciting time. And then Mercury and Venus, of course, as well. So this square onto Uranus is touching upon this minor grand trine sextile, this big social change. And that's why you're feeling the unknown. Not only that, other people around you are getting nervous, so they are reacting to their nervousness about where the future is. So just be mindful. If you have it, under control, remember the person next to you may be freaking out, which may cause them to act in a way that they don't want to act normally. People are very scared and very nervous. We all feel it individually, collectively, So I want to give you guys a couple dates. So we have another eclipse, like I said, in September at 29 degrees Virgo. That eclipse is connected to an eclipse in March 2025 and September 2024. We talked about this in last year's eclipse video if you want to rehash. And in March's eclipse video, I mentioned that as well. Those eclipses are happening in the last degrees of Virgo and Pisces, these 3 eclipses, and they're mirrors of each other. They're coming together, 1, 2, 3, and this is the last one. This new moon eclipse is relational to the eclipse in September, sort of. But if you look a little bit deeper, they're 2 separate series. So that eclipse, like I said, is connected to the eclipse in 2024 and March 2025. Well, this eclipse is connected to an eclipse in 2027, okay? So in 2027, there is a full moon eclipse in Virgo. I believe it's in February. I didn't write it down, 2 degrees Virgo. And so this helps us to realize that this eclipse, this new moon eclipse at 0 degrees Virgo, this is the beginning of a trajectory. Conversely, the eclipse in September is the closing point of the trajectory of the past. I talked about this before. This eclipse in September has a lot to do with Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Gemini in Taurus. That's where they were before. So it's closing out that earth-water energy. So this new moon eclipse, it is connected to that next eclipse because 0 and 29 degrees. Think of it as overlapping, 2 different parts overlapping. And this new moon eclipse is connected to the Virgo eclipse, full moon eclipse in 2027. Although it's important to note that that eclipse at 2 degrees Virgo is a slightly different series. It is 2 degrees off. It's still within orb, but there's something else going on with that eclipse that I'll tell you guys about later. However, we do have this second eclipse in 2027, but we won't get a 0 degree Virgo eclipse until 2044. So the timeline for this eclipse is actually from now until 2044. That doesn't mean that whatever's going on for you now will last forever, but some of the themes that are emerging now. And I'm only mentioning this for you to approach this energy with reverence. This is a beginning of a massive cycle. So in 10 years, when you guys come back and you're like, Veroosh, We got our butt kicked. What's going on? I was like, beginning of the cycle. This is the part that matters. And this is the part that sets you up for a long time. And don't judge the start. If something really difficult is going on in your life right now, don't judge it, because it might be a part of a bigger puzzle in which this has to happen and be removed or be transformed so that whatever's coming comes. So don't judge if certain things are not exactly how you want them to be. New moon eclipse in Virgo, no perfectionism. Fight the perfectionism. I have two more dates to share with you guys. So this is just going to help you hopefully connect the dots about some of the themes connected with this eclipse. Okay, so here we have a conjunction between the sun and the north node, and I am using the mean still. I haven't switched back, so it's a little bit off, but I'm using the true node here, but using the mean node, it was actually a conjunction of the sun and the north node, and there was a new moon here, I'm guessing in Leo, earlier on that day. But alongside this eclipse in Leo, new moon in, not new moon, north node conjunction with the sun in Virgo at 0 degrees, a new beginning may have emerged for you. And so the date for this is August 24th, 1998. Now that's an older date, so it might be a historical moment for you. You may have not been born, but just ask your family if there's some significance to do with that. Events to do that came up at that time may be relevant for you. And so the last date I have for you guys is this. This is the conjunction of Lilith, and I'm using mean Lilith as well. And mean Lilith is a little bit different than the nodes, but we'll talk about that separately, about mean and true Lilith and how that applies. But Lilith was conjunct Venus, actually, on this date. It's October 9th, 2023. So this date isn't too far back, which hopefully gives you an idea or memory of potentially what happened at that time. In the last couple days, I filmed a video for members that some of you got to see, because I did publish it for everybody for a while. But for the emergence of the Sirius star alongside Jupiter, Venus, and the moon, Jupiter was in its exalted degree, 15 degrees of Cancer, for between August 16th and August 21st. So every planet is exalted in 1 degree. Jupiter's degree is 15 degrees Cancer, and it was in this position from August 16th through the 21st. And so I might do another video about this since this has come up. There's some interesting things to consider, but that position is connected to several events to do with Lilith. And so there are significant aspects to that Jupiter at 15 degrees Cancer to do with Lilith. And so this conjunction of Venus and Lilith seemed to be salient at this time. And my question for you is, on October 10th or so, 2023, did you get yourself involved, or did you experience some harshness, particularly from women? Or did you experience disruptions out of the blue? Maybe some backstabbing, unexpected things, tensions arose, someone was pushing against you. Look at this. We have the Chiron North Node conjunction in Aries here coming up. If so, it looks like maybe from October 10th, 2023, it's been a couple years now. You can look back to see how that resonates for you. Something went sideways. Maybe you got smeared. Maybe there was a lie said about you. Maybe there was some other issue that has come up. With this eclipse that's happening now in this position, clarity could be brought into this situation. Okay, so that's about it for the astrology. I hope you enjoyed it. And now I'm going to play for you guys the tarot video. Hi everyone, so let's take a look at the tarot for our double eclipse portal. I don't know what to call it. The first card that jumps out at me is the Four of Cups, which is right in the center of the reading. It's a good way to tell what the whole energy is. With the Four of Cups, what we are seeing is offers being made to us, but possibly a lack of recognition for the things that are being given. So there's a turnaround here because I think people are weighed down with concerns. And so these concerns are overwhelming. And I think that they may be missing some of the opportunities that are being given to them. This is supported by the Five of Pentacles here. And so with the Five of Pentacles, we have this energy of poverty. This reminds me of Uranus and Taurus. Uranus is exiting Taurus throughout this year, and Uranus and Taurus brings a lot of things like food insecurity, changes in financial dynamics, unexpected shifts to the economy that leave people with very little, leave some people with very little. And so a lot of people are very burdened by financial things as the world has changed a lot over the last 7 years. And so they may be too overwhelmed to see the opportunities coming to them, but there are opportunities coming. This new moon looks like it's a turnaround for this energy. So if you feel bogged down, burdened by financial problems, I think that there's a shift. And let me show you why. The outcome card, I always see this as the outcome card, is the Eight of Wands. And sometimes that is explained as somebody else's intervention, but I feel like this is going on inside of our minds. And so our minds are shifting and changing and being brought into more positive states, or there are things that are happening around us that facilitate a more positive outlook. So whatever has been troubling you, whatever you feel burdened by, if you feel like there's not much hope ahead of you, this new moon and possibly the next new moon eclipse is going to create an environment of turnaround. Virgo, of course, is the sign of nourishment. And so what are we looking at here? People feel impoverished. Maybe they have enough food to survive, but maybe they don't have enough for everything else. There's a dramatic change and a turnaround in point of view. This goes beyond ideas and logic. This is about insight. When visions are obscured, you're not seeing much through whatever it is that is blocking your vision. And here we have this turnaround that is really complementary to these cards and this card. And together they are representing this worldview change. You may find that women in your life are not able to see things clearly. Now, I'm not saying this in a general way, but at this time you may notice that women are bogged down themselves, your friends, your partner, your family. And so they may not be seeing the opportunities that are coming to you all. And so you might find that there's an experience of wanting to share with someone else, but they themselves are trapped in cycles of fear or worry or concern. I think that there are very special events connected to men for all of us. There are unexpected interventions, connections, synchronicities in relation to men or masculine energy. You are meant to look out for the masculine energy showing up in your life and providing for you some kind of a solution to your current problems. Family is showing up as really strong. This is very similar to our reading of Venus and Jupiter in Cancer. Venus is still in Cancer until August 25th. And so, therefore, we have this energy of strong family connections and healing between family members. We have the Six of Wands here. The Six of Wands is signifying that you can turn to your family for support and care. Sorry that I'm shaking. So, for support and care, and they are going to be able to help you navigate, or they're bringing in help and something to elevate your circumstances. There is a relationship that is fundamentally changing. We have the Tower here, which is unexpected change. This is a primary relationship that is experiencing some kind of shock. A best friend, a partner, a boyfriend, or a girlfriend. Out of this situation comes a powerful insight. And so these three cards together are working very closely. This is the Death card, this is the Tower, and this is the High Priestess. So the High Priestess is you, whether you're a man or a woman. attaining a higher level of awareness as a structure that was holding you back is crumbling away and fading away. Don't worry, through this time, and I should have mentioned this earlier, you may be feeling some degree of tiredness or exhaustion. We have the Nine of Swords here, okay? So I feel like this is supportive of the Five of Pentacles and the Four of Cups. Whatever's been going on has been very tiresome for you, and you have reached a level of mental exhaustion. I'll add this card into this whole interpretation, the Seven of Swords here. It feels as though people around you have been fickle. This is the Seven of Swords. Women overall, not all, you may have felt that they are not as forthcoming and supportive as they normally are. Your relationships feel tenuous at this time. It's because everyone is bogged down and weighed down. Now, this card represents people with bad faith relationships to you, which means they don't have good intentions to you from the get-go. These people, these women don't. They have good intentions towards you, but there are things that are bogging them down. So this Seven of Swords represents people who don't have good intentions towards you, and these people are playing games that are undermining your progress, and this is adding to this exhaustion. It feels like we're coming from a position where there's no stable place to put your foot, no place to stabilize. And now I'm understanding the Four of Cups a little bit better. Now this is something that's influencing the present from the past, but where things are developing to, where things are growing to, is the healing of this exhaustion that you've been under. This is actually reinforcing the Tower and the High Priestess. If you're going through a breakup right now, whether it's a romantic breakup or a friendship breakup or something other, this is recognizing that there may be some feelings that are hurtful in nature, but there is an overwhelming synchronicity between what's been going on in your relationship, especially if it's been breaking down, and this new version that's emerging. It really looks as though whatever's falling away has been stopping you from where you need to go. And I would even argue that your current circumstances involving financial strain, worry is connected to that. So you, for whatever reason, you've been holding on and have been experiencing these levels of strain or worry or concern, but that is born out of your attachment to whatever circumstances that have been draining of you. So this fickle energy, this probably unstable relationship, and also just being bombarded time and again with problems at a time when maybe some of your support network isn't as available as they normally would be. Now, here's a little warning. In relation to conflict, do not be concerned with trying to be right or clarify the situation. This is the Five of Swords, and it's suggesting that whatever conflict you have had, it's likely that it's not going to change. It is going to stay the same, and you're not going to be in a position to clarify it. So don't engage in trying to bring reason to this situation. People become very irrational at times when certain emotions are involved, especially when they are like ambition, passion. Some of these emotions can be very toxic in certain situations. People's self-interest blinds them to the truth, and they will willfully ignore facts and information that you provide to them, even if their ambition towards the goal contradicts the facts you are giving, right? So you're in a situation in which there could be circumstances around you in which no matter, even if you're right, this person has all the swords, you are not going to be heard in the way that you want to be, which means that if you've had a fight with someone or if one of your friends is bogged down with negative emotions, you're not going to get through to them in this situation. You may have to wait a little bit of time and come back to the issue later. Okay, so there is a fundamental change that's going on, even if though it's not clear. This is suggesting that this is all connected to a phase of aloneness that you have been in that is currently coming to an end. This is the card of Virgo, and this is where we get 2 eclipses, one now and one in a month. This is suggesting that whatever heaviness you've come into this month with is being removed and shifted, although you're not seeing it now, which makes sense why you wouldn't see it, because there's 2 eclipses, one now and one in 28 days. I'm guessing in 28 days you are going to see what's coming much more clearly. But overall, the theme is the removal of your aloneness, separation. But separation can happen also when you're around the wrong people, people who do not reflect what you truly are or who you truly need to be. And so this is a shift towards moving towards kinship or more like-minded people. There is a person around who I want you to watch out for. They are the Prince of Swords, who is a Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. This person is a messenger. I have a sense, this is an intuitive interpretation, that he or she is your messenger. They carry messages to others or on your behalf. They do speaking when you don't want to speak, when you don't want to communicate, or you feel like this isn't the time to communicate. This person is a impartial third party who is communicating on your behalf. This person is important. It will be different for every person, but look out for a messenger. And they don't have to be an air sign. They can be any gender, any sign, but they often revolve around communications. This could be things like email, text messages, social media posts, all sorts of different communications, that this person is your ally and kind of like your personal PR team, someone who's able to communicate on your behalf when maybe you don't have the time or you don't have the access. Okay. One thing I sort of skipped over that I want to go back to before we finish up the last row is the Ace of Pentacles, because this is a real kind of important part of this reading. What's happening on for you below the surface is a new beginning, but it's only for yourself. That's the important thing. It's your new beginning. It's not your beginning, to make this situation better. It's not your beginning to change things around. It's your personal beginning of material prosperity and material growth and expansion. So look for these things. These are the things you need to look for. I'll remind you, the Prince of Swords is a messenger. It's a friendly energy. Could be a female or a man. It could be a Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, but it could have someone of other signs also. There's a new financial beginning. It's just for you. Look for these opportunities. And there is the masculine energy. This is separate from this and this. There's a masculine energy of hope and help, and that can show up for you in many ways. It could actually show up for you in multiple ways. At home, maybe at work, at school, wherever you're at. There could be multiple instances when you see masculine energy really helping you. The other main theme that I've seen in the first 2 lines that I want to summarize, just to bring your focus back to it, is this transformation. There's a loss of a vision of something, probably tied to a relationship, and an emergence of a new worldview that's much more attuned to who you are. And then because of all this, I don't think you're going to be on the same page as other people. You're not going to be on the same page as your friends, and you're definitely not going to be on the same page as people with whom you have conflict with. I know that there's a big desire here to try to explain or figure out, but I don't think this is the time to do it. I think many people are triggered or involved, so you have to just bide your time with this one. The less you say now, the better it will be to figure out things later. This is the act of hope that in the future you can communicate and figure things out. And watch out for whoever this is. This is someone who is looking to take advantage of a situation that you're in, to kind of take something that doesn't belong to them, maybe at your expense. This isn't a huge thing, but the concern I have is that it's adding to your tiredness. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Trust me, this new moon is a great new moon. Although we find you at the beginning of this new moon embroiled with all of these energies. They're weighing you down. Again, something that you had a vision about is fundamentally changing. For some of you, not everyone, the way that you see your partner changes. Maybe you thought they were great and you figure out that they're not. You have a vision is coming over your eyes that's different than what you were seeing. Don't be afraid of this vision. This vision is going to open up your worldview to a more correct alignment, and therefore you're going to be moving out of place of hurt, exhaustion. Burnout is caused by misalignment. When your actions are misaligned with the outcomes and the environment that you're in. So if you're finding yourself burnt out, you're being stretched in ways that are contra to your best way. So when you have this shocking break in vision, that actually provides you an opportunity to align with your true self, and that allows you to beat exhaustion. Exhaustion is born out of doing something that's not true to you, right? I think that many of you have, or many of us, including me, have lived with the veil over our eyes. And so this is the Seven of Cups that we are being confronted with here. And maybe this is why your female friends or people who are around you are feeling this as well. There's a lot of deception around us at this time that we need to see through. And layers of conditioning and deception are very complicated. It's like an onion. You get through one layer and then there's another. And so with the Seven of Cups, you're confronting these layers of deception. And that's a freeing thing. Don't get me. This is a really good thing. You're breaking down an old worldview for a new one that's going to allow you to see what's going on in your life much more clearly. There are indications here that there are power imbalances in your family, and especially extended family. So if there's siblings or cousins, there's push-pull, covert, very quiet, maybe over wealth, maybe over shared wealth, or maybe a little bit of competition between cousins. So there is this seemingly prosperity in the home, and we have this success. Although I think this is more your immediate family, the more broader family, there's a little bit of people looking at what the other one has and comparing each other. So on the surface in your family it could be fine, but there's tension there between siblings or cousins that's coming up with this eclipse. I really love these two cards at the end. They come with the Eight of Rods. I think they're all together. They're two water court cards, the Queen of Cups and the Prince of Cups. I think that there are two people that are coming into the picture that are incredibly kind, and they're facilitating a lot of nurturing in the environment. Whatever your situation is, there are people around you who are going to step in and provide a lot of help, emotional help, resilience. I feel as though these are allies that are coming into your life through this whole process. She provides, it might be a man, but it could be a water sign, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, or any other sign. I always feel I need to explain this, but this person radiates through the emotion. This is a nurturing energy, whatever their gender is, whatever is, that they are operating through care and nurture. They have something to offer of a healing and a helping nature. These people are very receptive to states of exhaustion and tiresomeness. And so these people provide some way out or a new opportunity. So watch out for her. Very, very healing energy. And this feels just like a blessing. Look out for a man or a woman, Page of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. In other decks, that's called the Knight of Cups. It could be any other sign, but this is an offer. This is someone who's coming in with an emotional offer. I feel like this is deeply nurturing this individual. This person's providing a lot of love and care, whereas this person I sense happiness, luck. I sense intervention of sorts, like a lucky intervention, some kind of a lucky experience. I had a really I've been having lots of dreams with these transits of Jupiter and Venus. And last night I had the funniest dream. It was a person, and I don't remember much of the dream, outside my window looking in. And at first I was a little scared, then I was more annoyed, and it kept saying something to me. And then when I woke up, I realized that it was like a spirit guide or something talking to me in a helpful way, and it was like encouraging me, and just like it was just really kind. So there was it's like on the side of the building, it was hovering or something by my window, and it was like talking to me as I was sleeping and I could kind of see it, and it would duck out. So I don't know who or what it was, but it was definitely positive. It was definitely helpful. It was like a spirit that was letting me know that it's there, and it wants me to have a good life or whatever. It felt like a coach of some kind, some kind of a wonderful energy. So whoever it is or whatever it is, there's a person or a thing that is around you right now that is coming in with something great for you, and it's going to be very emotionally satisfying. The outcome is, of course, again, the Eight of Rods. Your attitude through, and I don't mean that in a negative sense, but your outlook by the end of this is going to change. On the bottom of this is the Eight of Pentacles, which is Sun in Virgo, and it's the work card. So I don't know if you find a better way or you find a better alignment. There's definitely tension here. This part of the reading feels like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's so much energy going on here. Here it mellows out, and here is very peaceful and kind. So I think that whatever energy is in turmoil is going to shift and change, and it's going to turn into very caring, very fulfilling, the right allies coming in, very nice energy. Allow the changes to happen. Allow whatever needs to go to go. Mourn whatever it is that is hurtful, but don't dwell on it, because these good things are coming in this worldview that's changing and empowering you to have a new prosperous beginning. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching, and nice to see you guys again. I've missed you a lot. Members, I'm gonna post your all sign reading in the description when I'm finished. I'm guessing it's gonna be tomorrow because it's already 5 p.m. today. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.